How do you find lead for a vintage mechanical pencil? Hello again. Recently, I visited a flea market with my family and found a couple of interesting vintage mechanical pencils, and it reminded me of a subject I wanted to cover at some point, which I will do now, and that is, how do you know what size lead your vintage mechanical pencil takes? Most modern mechanical pencils tend to print the size of the lead on the pencil. Here we have a cheap Right Dudes 0.7 millimeter mechanical pencil. It says right on the pencil. So if I wanted to replace the lead, not sure why you would on a disposable pencil like this, but if I wanted to, it says right there, standard size, easy to find. Have any more modern ones here? These are kind of modern, but they don't say the size. Sadly, I have mostly, well, not sadly, I have mostly vintage mechanical pencils in here. Wait, is there one in my pocket? There is. So this cheap, more like a lead holder, and I've got red lead in there for rubricating my prayer book. That's a 2.0 millimeter. Anyway, so point is, modern pencils tend to have the size of lead printed on the barrel of the pencil, but vintage pencils are not that way. And it's not because vintage pencils have sizes of lead that are non-standard and all over the map. They tended to fall along pretty standardized lines, as we'll see. So if I have these two pencils, first of all, let's just take a look and appreciate this. This I was able to determine was made by Redipoint, which I believe is out of St. Paul. And this one drew my attention because, hopefully you can see that, it says Burroughs on it, which is a inventor and manufacturer of adding machines, but also briefly in the 30s and 40s, manufacturer of typewriters. I do not currently own a Burroughs typewriter, maybe someday, but they briefly were in the typewriter manufacturing market. And this pencil, Redipoint was making pencils from very early in the 20th century until I don't know, I think at least the 50s, 60s. So the body style is more like a 20s, 30s style of pencil, and it is a screw mechanism. Screw the end and the lead advances and retracts. Still works fine after all these years, so nearly 100 years probably for this pencil. It's a very cool looking clip. But if I bring this pencil home and it does not have lead in it, let's say this one did, but if it didn't, how would I know what size lead to purchase to refill this pencil? Well, luckily, most vintage mechanical pencils from the 20th century, so from the beginning of the 20th century up until the 80s, or nearly, there were two main sizes of lead, and those were 0.036 inches, or roughly 0.9 millimeters, and 0.046 inches, or roughly 1.1 millimeters. So 0.9 millimeter, 1.1 millimeter. So likely this pencil is going to have one or the other of the two. Now let's say I don't happen to have any lead, which I do here, by the way. I have some 0.9, and I think I have some 1.1s buried in here somewhere. But I don't have any lead to try it out. And I'm going to purchase some lead. Need to know what size lead this takes. I know it's likely to be 0.9 or 1.1 millimeter. Learned a simple trick to determine. And hopefully I can find my scientific tools in here to perform this very scientific trick. 2 standard paper clips, the big kind and the little kind. You have them in your desk drawer almost certainly. Everyone has them. They're just loose in desk drawers. Who even knows where they come from? They just appear there. As luck would have it, the large paper clip has a diameter of approximately 1.1 millimeter, and the small paper clip has a diameter that's very close to 0.9 millimeter, or 0.036 inches and 0.046 inches. So all one has to do, and hopefully my camera will cooperate here, is attempt to insert, and that looks like a snug fit. So I'm going to say, and this is a loose fit. So this pencil almost certainly takes a 1.1 millimeter, that is 0.046 inch lead. And you can find on eBay, or there's a specific seller whose name I suddenly can't remember. I will try to put a link to that site where they sell leads designed to fit vintage pencils. But simple trick. 1.1, 0.9, and that'll, for the majority, I would say even the vast majority of vintage mechanical pencils from the 20th century, this is going to work. None of them have it printed on their barrel. I don't know that I've ever come across a vintage mechanical pencil that said what lead size. Now, another trouble you may run into is if you find at the thrift or flea market, you find these old boxes of pencil leads, vintage lead. I have a lot of Scripto here because I collect Scripto pencils. They often will not say anywhere on the package what size, what diameter the lead is. And that can be kind of frustrating. With Scripto, it's a little bit easier in that for the 0.9s or the 0.036 inch, the 0.9 millimeter leads, they usually are labeled thin, and the larger 1.1 millimeter are just labeled long leads. The only other way to determine, if you don't know much about, actually, I just noticed this one actually does have the diameter 0.046, so this is a 1.1 millimeter, just says long leads. The smaller ones say thin leads. But anyway, if you don't know a lot about, and it's on that one too. How about that? I just learned something new. I did not know that was printed on there. So if you didn't know and it wasn't printed on the box, you could just use the paper clip trick on your pencil and then try the lead in it. And if it fits, you'll know what size lead it takes. Anyway, I just thought that was a handy way to determine that. I was pleased to learn it. Someday I'll go through this fantastic collection of mechanical pencils. Here's the other one I picked up, by the way, at that same flea market. This one does not have a manufacturer on it. But hopefully I'll find the manufacturer and put it in the notes or on the screen. This is a Goodyear Sure Grip tractor tires. Cool little mechanical pencil. Says made in USA. Again, doesn't say what size lead. Let's try the... Don't have it retracted enough. That's a snug fit there. I think that's also a 1.1. So there you go. Works 90% of the time. So if you have a vintage pencil, get one of those paper clips that's serving no purpose in your drawer. Pull it out. You can discover what size lead you need. Go order some and make your pencil happy. Make yourself happy. Thanks for watching today. Hope to see you here again next time.